Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Kris. This is episode 7 from History Rebel, Benjamin Franklin, Paris and the Revolution, 75 to 78. Before we get started, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, completely free, helps me out tremendously. You can donate to the channel through the thanks button. That is not free, but if you donate and you request a video, your name sponsors that video. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Let's get into the video.
When war breaks out at Lexington in April 1775, a 69-year-old Benjamin Franklin is on his way back to North America from London with his 15-year-old grandson, Temple. Franklin has been in London for almost 16 years, serving as a colonial representative to the British government, where he has become deeply involved in colonial politics and diplomacy and a strong advocate for their rights. For his diplomatic efforts,
John Adams is a great show, although not extremely accurate, but it's a great show if you ever get a chance to watch it. Is it 6 episodes? 8 episodes? I don't remember now. It's really good though. Everybody does a great job.
His scientific innovations and his public service. In 1775, Franklin is already a well-known and highly respected man in both America and Europe. When he arrives in Philadelphia in May, he is immediately selected to join the Continental Congress, though he keeps his precise views to himself, as others debate increasing American rights within the empire or for full-scale independence from the mother country. Franklin keeps his opinions quiet while trying to persuade men close to him to join the revolutionary cause. One of those men is the New Jersey royal governor and his son, William Franklin, who remains steadfastly loyal to the crown. William and Benjamin will soon reunite, but like in so many other friendships and families on the continent, they remain at odds with each other over the issue. Benjamin Franklin has come to believe that America should not replicate the corrupt ruling aristocracies and hierarchies of the old world, and that his cherished vision of imperial harmony with Britain can no longer exist while Parliament attempts to subjugate the colonies through taxation. Over the next year, as the colonies head further into revolution, he focuses his efforts on building a new nation, establishing a paper currency, a postal system, and drafting articles of confederation for the colonies. By 1776, the mood begins to shift in the Continental Congress. Many delegates start to see America's dispute not just with Parliament and corrupt ministers, but with the Crown itself, a view strongly shared by Franklin. By June, Congress orders the removal of all royal governors, and a defiant William Franklin is promptly arrested. Benjamin will show no sympathy for his only son, however, and thwarts attempts made by Washington and others to release him in a prisoner exchange. William will be imprisoned for the next 2 years and spend much of that time in solitary confinement. In June, Franklin makes small but important changes to the Declaration of Independence, which is soon passed in July. When the British Army arrives in New York weeks later, Franklin meets his old friend, Lord Howe, now the commander of British forces in America. The two negotiate over claret, but Franklin makes clear that peace is now impossible. At this stage in the war, the Continentals are desperate for financial aid and important military supplies like gunpowder and muskets. Without these supplies, which cannot be manufactured in the quantities needed in the 13 colonies, the revolution is doomed to failure. The fate of the war and the existence of the United States rests on the ability to procure these supplies as much as Washington's ability to succeed on the battlefield. France, Britain's oldest and most steadfast rival, is a natural candidate to aid the colonists. Unfortunately for the Americans, in 1776, Britain and France are enjoying a rare peace, and Congress therefore needs a skilled diplomat in Paris with the ability to persuade the French to support, at least secretly, the American Revolution. A congressional committee selects Benjamin Franklin for the job, which to some may have seemed a strange choice. Franklin is plagued with gout and kidney stones, and at 70, he is far older than many of his contemporaries in Congress. but he is selected nonetheless, and with Temple and a second grandson Benny by his side, Franklin leaves eagerly for Paris in October 1776. On arrival in France, Franklin is immediately welcomed like a celebrity. Grand balls are thrown for him, and the public imitate his cap in adulation. Franklin quickly becomes a symbol of the romanticized American frontiersman, fighting against corruption and oppression from a tyrannical England. From his arrival, and in a public relations masterstroke, Franklin plays up to the image and wears his fur cap at public engagements instead of the traditional and fashionable wig worn by every other man of distinction in Europe. But in Paris, despite his popularity, Franklin has a hard road ahead. Although some in France are keen not to break the centuries-long tradition of regular warfare with the British, the country is financially cash-strapped, and many remain cautious about supporting what increasingly looks like a failed rebellion. Some aristocrats, including the King, Louis XVI, are also nervous about supporting a radical revolution abroad that may well cause future trouble at home.
On a side note to anyone, On a side note to anyone who cares, I think my 250th video was a DNA test reveal, and which I already knew, but I just did it anyways. I'm related to King Louis XVI. So as I've said before, I will be coming back soon to reclaim the crown. And to be honest, I'm expecting some makeup money. So if you're listening and you're in France, be prepared. I'm figuring it's been what? 235 years ish. I'm expecting a good $150 a year in back pay. So, I'm just letting you know. France need to come up with that money. And then I'll come back.
The French foreign minister, the Count of Vergennes, has been fast to see the potential for helping the colonials. Before Franklin's arrival, the Count had written to the king regarding French policy on the matter. England is the natural enemy of France, and she is an avid enemy, ambitious, unjust, brimming with bad faith. The permanent and cherished object of her policy is the humiliation and ruin of France. Vergennes and others see the rebellion in the colonies as a clear opportunity to cripple the British, but others in the king's court feel that the country is not yet ready for war while they wait for an important and years-long naval rearmament program to finish. The king approves a compromise. France will support the colonial cause, but only in secret. As Franklin settles into Paris, the first ships loaded with war materials are ready to set sail via a dummy company set up by a French agent, the playwright Pierre Beaumarchais. But Vergennes has become nervous following reports of American defeats in New York and the threats from the British of war. Vergennes has no intention of supporting a dying cause or allowing France to prematurely enter a war they are ill prepared for and that could easily bankrupt the state. Vergennes keeps his distance from Franklin publicly, but is charmed by him in secret meetings, and in a matter of weeks, Franklin is able to secure the release of the supply ships and much-needed financial loans. Tens of thousands of uniforms and muskets, along with large numbers of cannon and other supplies, start flowing from Europe to the colonies, while financial loans and gifts soon become critical to Congress, who face mounting problems funding the war. British spies are everywhere in Paris, and the British ambassador, Lord Stormont, attempts to counter Franklin's success by supplying French newspapers with salacious gossip and embellished battlefield reports. When a French friend asks Franklin whether one of the stories is true, he replies, "It is not the truth, it is only a Stormont." The retort sweeps through Paris, and Stormont quickly becomes a pithy synonym for lying. To aid in their mission, Franklin hires an American friend that worked with him in London years earlier, Edward Bancroft. Bancroft is made the secretary of the delegation and becomes a close and valued ally to Franklin. But what the delegation does not know is that Bancroft has been turned and is now an active agent of the British Secret Service. Every week, the unassuming and polite Bancroft provides secret reports written between the lines of fake love letters in invisible ink. The reports include details of Franklin's meetings with French ministers, the schedules of arms shipments, and the movements of the French fleet. Franklin is aware that he is surrounded by spies, both British and French, but he remains nonchalant about the dangers and, in typical style, will soon turn it to his advantage. Franklin's diplomacy cleverly bridges the realistic national interests of the United States and France with the soft idealism of the Revolution. He tells French ministers that war offers the opportunity to take from Britain not just the 13 colonies, but their hugely lucrative Caribbean islands as well. He matches this with a public relations campaign on the virtues of the American cause, translating inspiring documents like the Declaration of Independence, which are then printed all over Europe. Alongside his diplomatic duties, Franklin is continuously approached by European officers seeking commissions in the newly formed Continental Army. Although many are turned away, some leave for the 13 colonies with important letters of recommendation from Franklin, including Count Pulaski, Baron von Steuben, and the Marquis de Lafayette. Alongside his formal diplomacy, Franklin also makes regular forays into the vibrant Paris social scene. Ever the charmer, Franklin becomes close to socialites and influential women, including Anne-Louise Briand and Anne-Catherine de Ligneville. The salons of Paris are centres not just of philosophical debate, but also for gossip and scandal. Franklin uses his celebrity and wit to spread his revolutionary ideals and spin any negative news from the colonies amongst the renowned, the influential, and the powerful in Paris. Over the next year, although the French will continuously evade calls for an alliance, Franklin's diplomacy proves highly effective in sourcing critical supplies for the war effort. The Continental Army becomes dependent on French gunpowder, while some formations rely almost entirely on French-supplied arms and military equipment, from muskets to uniforms to tents. Vast sums are also loaned and gifted to Congress that keep the almost bankrupt United States government functioning. In the spring of 1777, two large British armies under Generals Burgoyne and Howe threatened to strike deep across New England. After Washington's defeats in New York the previous year, things are looking bleak, and Franklin prepares to push Vergennes for significantly more aid. But Bancroft informs his spy masters of Franklin's plans, and the British ambassador, Lord Stormont, is able to protest before the meetings can take place. Vergennes is furious, and Franklin and the delegation are left looking incompetent. But there is worse news to come. A ship arrives confirming recent rumours that British General Howe has captured the capital, Philadelphia. For the delegation, this is a significant setback, and Arthur Lee, a fellow American delegate in the French court, argues that they must now use the loss of Philadelphia to present an ultimatum to the French. Either they immediately join the United States in a military alliance, or they will be forced to make peace with Great Britain. Franklin disagrees, fearing that this will only drive the French further away, and instead argues for patience and to wait for good news that can be better leveraged. Franklin does not have to wait long, and in early December, unbelievable news arrives. Burgoyne's entire army has been forced to surrender at Saratoga. The good news is celebrated in Paris and coincides with the recently complete French naval rearmament program. The mood reversed, Vergennes quickly invites the Americans to resubmit their request for a formal alliance. Although good progress is made on a draft treaty, Vergennes continues to drag his feet. France requires the approval of Spain following mutual agreement to act in unison on such matters. While negotiations continue in Madrid, Franklin now begins his diplomatic masterstroke. Leveraging the fact that both French and British spies are watching him, Franklin is unsubtle with his movements. This firstly ensures that the British find out about the progress of a potential Franco-American alliance. Here Bancroft unknowingly plays his part and sends drafts of the treaty to London. The British take the bait and in reaction send a spy chief, Paul Wentworth, to Paris to start secret meetings with Franklin and the other delegates. Wentworth offers reconciliation, whereby the 13 colonies would remain within the empire and maintain their own congress for domestic matters, while Parliament manages foreign affairs and trade. As Franklin hopes, French spies then in turn catch wind of Wentworth's proposals of reconciliation and reports the concerning news to Vergennes. Franklin has perfectly played British and French spies off against one another, who both now believe they are in a race to secure a deal. The manoeuvring soon pays off. Despite Spain surprisingly declining to join the alliance, Vergennes, now fearful that the Americans will accept the British offer, agrees to conclude the treaties, one of friendship and trade, and the other a secret military alliance. The treaties, signed in February 1778, formally recognizes the United States as a sovereign country, while offering mutual commercial and navigational rights, and importantly, a defensive pact which guarantees French military support if war comes between Britain and France, which now only seems a matter of time. On the day the treaties are signed, Franklin wears a blue velvet suit instead of his usual plain attire. Franklin had last worn the suit in London years earlier, where he had been humiliated by a senior British official. When asked why he is wearing the suit, Franklin replies, "To give it a little revenge." And revenge it was. Franklin's diplomatic triumph becomes essential in securing American independence, which came.
Only Franklin would have been able to have played both sides, to have done all the stuff that was required, because he had been there for so long. John Adams went over there and he didn't know how to play the game, because that's not how it was played here. He didn't have any respect for the flow of communicating and the almost, I guess I'm going to say, the art of seduction in how to not get sex, but in how to communicate. It was this way about it that Franklin knew. And dare I say, even as an old man, was good at it. And Adams just was not that type of person. He wasn't worldly like Franklin was. Franklin just grew up differently. But as much respect and props that we give Franklin for what he did, I don't think he truly gets enough. And if I'm in John Adams' spot, I'm furious with the way Franklin is handling it. Because we need things now. We've got to go, we've got to go, we've got to go. I'm going to sneeze real fast. All right. Sorry. Back. You didn't say bless you. So, like, the way that Franklin handled it would have driven me crazy as well. But I also don't understand how to do all that. Franklin did. And Franklin was so good at it, he didn't care to explain it to you. Because it wasn't explained to him. He learned it. And you either learned it and picked up on it and understood the social cues of how to do this verbal dance, or you didn't, or you know, and if you didn't, in terms of Adams, refused. He wasn't going to sit you down and tell you you kind of need to do. He would tell them it's not the way things are done here. Adams didn't care to learn that. That's why those two bumped heads. That's why Jefferson, in a way, loved it. Jefferson loved it not the way Franklin loved it. Jefferson loved it because he just thought it was so cool. Just it was great. He was just I almost said enthralled. Is that the word that I want to use? He enjoyed it. And it was really tough when he came back because we didn't do that. And he was so used to the way that things were communicated. It was just
Another step closer
time.
When France declares war on Britain only months after signing the alliance. The treaty is also the first step of changing the world's balance of power, not just between France and Great Britain, but between republicanism and monarchy as well. Benjamin Franklin, a 72-year-old man suffering from gout, had rendered an enormous service to his new country, surely equal to any of the great generals and campaigns of the war. Thank you for watching our series on the American Revolution, and of course,
I like this series. I haven't seen if they've done any recent videos, but I'm really hoping that they will continue with something, even if they go to the Civil War, go back to the French and Indian War, Mexican-American War, just something, because I think this channel does a great job of that. Oh, you don't have to apologize, buddy. Anyways, we're going to end it here. I hope you enjoy this series, because I am. That's why I'm covering it. So anyways, until next time, have a good day, have a good night.